in. Hello?
The real issue here is the very people who are criticizing Kash Patel the loudest happen to be conservative voters.
He didn't just pop out of anywhere. He has had a career in serving our great nation.
Okay. He has a so-called target on his back.
I'd have to look at the sourcing of this because the anonymous sources, and they do reimburse for that.
You can't be spewing disinformation on the show just like that.
It's total brain rot, right?
Are you just gonna whataboutism this whole entire discussion?
No, I think
because I'm trying to talk about the Epstein files. Where are they?
Tens of thousands of documents that have already been released.
Go back and do some research yourself.
I don't want to go back to that. Both parties are guilty of engaging in a cover-up of the Epstein files because it's very likely that we have disgusting sexual predators and pedophiles who would be implicated through the release of the Epstein files on both sides of the political aisle.
That's in a lot of different things.
I got it. I have to be able to finish my sentences.
Let me just clarify one thing because I think you guys are kind of talking over each other.
There's so much gaslighting right now, and I just want to return to the original point that I was going to make.
Come on, let's get it out.
And I respect your opinion. That's the best part of this, is we can disagree, and at the end of the day, still have a civilized conversation.
No, I agree. Thank you so much. Hey guys, we are so thrilled to be back. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to like, subscribe. We love you a ton. Today we have two fabulous guests. I'm co-hosting with Anna Kasparian, Lindy, and you're gonna love this. We have Bianca de la Garza and Vianca Rodriguez. Yep. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us. Yeah. I know, Bianca, what are the odds?
What are the odds? I love it.
Bianca is an award-winning journalist, a former ABC anchor, and a sharp, fearless voice in news and culture. And also, I want to add just one of the warmest people ever that I've ever met.
Thanks, Lindy.
And Bianca, it's so good to have you today. You are a former deputy director of Hispanic communications for the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee, known for bold commentary and a strong voice in Latino media.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, girls. We have quite a show for you today, and it's going to cover the gamut. We're going to start with Anna. She's going to tell us about Kash Patel. There's a lot of drama happening at the FBI right now, certain shenanigans about a girlfriend. And then she's going to tell us about AI. And right now, the Trump administration is trying to stop states from regulating. They want to basically consolidate all the power at the federal level. We're going to talk about the chasm between the states and the federal government. And then I'm going to talk about why it is that a lot of people with college degrees are having such a hard time finding jobs. Why is that? And then we are going to end with a lot of controversy this week around the transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, and his recent call to be civil on airplanes and not to dress in your pajamas. We're going to talk about whether it's a good idea or maybe he missed the mark, to say the least. So you're in for quite a ride. We're going to start with Anna.
Yes.
And Kash Patel.
Kash Patel, man, he is lovesick. I think it's pretty obvious. He's absolutely enamored by his girlfriend, who I will say is absolutely gorgeous, beautiful young woman. But there is a problem because of the fact that he is concerned for her safety and has been using taxpayer resources in order to provide security to her, even when they're not together. Mm-hmm. So let's get into the details about this. Patel is under fire yet again for demanding that SWAT teams act as personal security for his girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. Now, he has defended her on multiple occasions. You know, there have been some on the MAGA side, which is kind of surprising, who have basically accused her of being a Mossad agent. She's filing lawsuits, defamation lawsuits as a result of that. But this story isn't really about that. It's about the fact that, you know, there have been allegedly some pretty serious threats thrown her way, and as a result, Kash Patel wants to use some of the security that's afforded for him and his safety for her safety. So MS Now reported that she had a security detail made up of elite FBI agents, usually assigned to a SWAT team in the FBI field office in Nashville, where she actually spends time doing the work that she does. She's apparently a country music singer, a national sensation, according to Kash Patel. I listen to some country music, but I'm not really big into the genre, so I can't really confirm or deny whether that's the case.
I mean, I do listen to country. Sometimes I'm a huge fan of Morgan.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, he's the best. I wouldn't say she's a known quantity in that space.
I'm a Chris Stapleton fan. I don't know if that qualifies as country music.
That definitely does, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Should, right?
He's great.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard some of her music. I think she sings really well, and she's up and coming. But it is a situation that, you know, you have to understand too, right? Like everything that we're seeing on social media and all the attacks that a lot of these individuals, these politicians, but from the conservative side that we've been receiving. I mean, heck, we had Charlie Kirk assassinated, right? So there's a lot of concern for everybody's safety at this point. So I could see why her being associated, and at this point, very, very well, you know, I think they're going to get married, if I'm not mistaken, or if they've already been married. So, you know, they have a very serious association. So there's a desire to keep her protected from all of this too.
Okay, so they're not married yet.
Yeah, they're not married.
But here's what we do know. Okay, so let's talk about whether or not the security that's being afforded to her is unusual. So apparently, this has been drawing a lot of negative attention. MS Now reports that SWAT team agents on a detail with Wilkins would presumably be unable to respond or delayed in responding to crises that might develop in their territory, such as mass shootings or terror attacks. And these are statements that are made by sources who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive security matters. So the argument is by, you know, taking these members of SWAT teams off the beat to focus on Wilkins, it could potentially pose a threat or a danger to that local community because they wouldn't be focusing on other potential threats to members of the local community. And this isn't the first time that Kash Patel has done this. According to the New York Times, in late September, bureau officials recalled agents on the tactical team to the FBI office in Salt Lake City, even after they had worked long hours in the wake of the killing of Charlie Kirk. They were reassigned to provide Wilkins with additional protection at a political event out of concern that she could also be targeted. Now, obviously, tensions were high at that moment, so I don't really blame anyone for wanting to bolster whatever security is necessary in order to keep everyone safe. But in addition to that, when Wilkins sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the NRA annual convention in Atlanta this past spring, she arrived with a SWAT team from the Bureau's local field office. The two agents, members of a specialized unit trained to storm barricaded buildings and rescue hostages, had been sent there on Kash Patel's orders. And then after the Georgia World Congress Center had been completely secured, she was safe. At that point, the agents decided, the SWAT team specifically decided, okay, we can leave. It'll be okay for her. But apparently Kash Patel was absolutely furious that they left before her performance was over. So soon after, Patel ripped into the team's commander, saying that his girlfriend had been left without taxpayer-funded defenders and slamming what he saw as failure to communicate their movements up the chain of command during her time on the convention floor. But honestly, according to those familiar with the FBI security protocol, using SWAT teams to protect her is very unusual. You know, if she's with Kash Patel, that's a different story. Because obviously, as FBI director, he's afforded increased security. But when she's alone, the argument is that security is not supposed to be extended to her.
She is not married to the guy. There's, you know, marriage is also just important. It's an important marker. Like, if we start just affording protection to girlfriends, where do we draw the line? Like a first-time date? 6 months?
You know, there's
a
lot to unpack here, and if I can jump in, because you set it up beautifully. So first of the matter, there's an assassination culture right now happening in our country. The climate is heated. They've been together for 3 years. While they are not married, they maintain separate residences. They are together quite a bit. As far as the SWAT members, I mean, we don't know how many members of the team. Is it 5 people? I think this is a manufactured crisis. I really do. I think, first of all, if he thinks his girlfriend, who has death threats, which we even know, and no one disputes that, credible death threats, if he thinks he has a SWAT team that is representing and going to be there, and then they leave, I would be pissed too, because it's either do your job, that's your mission that you signed up with, or go and say, I no longer want to do this, and bring it to the authorities. So, I mean, I think this is manufactured in so many ways, because it seems like everything about Kash Patel, there's a smear campaign every single day. It's something about him. When he flies in, they're upset that he's at a press conference. No, maybe it's about bringing up the morale. Nobody talks about when he worked for the Obama administration, he caught terrorists. He has done so much in his career that now all of a sudden, because he is with the Trump administration on this second term in a very highly politicized administration and role, he has a target on his back. And by default, so does Alex Wilkins, his girlfriend, who I don't know personally, but they seem very happy. And he's put it out on social media how attacks against her are just not. You have a right to a personal life just because you're the FBI director. And I don't want to hear anything about impropriety, because we could go back to Lisa Page and Peter Strzok. Strzok was the former deputy assistant of counterintelligence. They were working, of course, for Mueller under the special counsel. And the IG, Michael Horowitz, found anti-Trump messages where they said, we're going to stop him from being elected. So if we want to go back and have a real controversy in the FBI, it is not about some SWAT members, whether or not they're going to country music artists.
I don't want to go back to that, because it's not really relevant to the use of taxpayer money to offer protection to someone who's not even a government employee.
By the way,
I do have a huge problem with that.
It speaks to the level
Nothing
of
stopping her
things
from
at
hiring her
FBI.
own. Hold on. Nothing stopping her from using her own money to hire her own personal security, which is what Charlie Kirk did, which is what any public figure who's worried about their safety as a public figure is tasked with doing. The only reason why she is being offered resources that are funded by us, the taxpayers, is because Kash Patel is. Hold on. Kash Patel is her boyfriend. But the other problem is, it's not just about the security. It's also about the fact that Kash Patel was caught using a government jet for a golf trip with his buddies to a private resort in Scotland this summer. Why are taxpayers funding that?
And by FBI directors always use private jets, and
they use
then
private
they
jets
reimburse
for
them.
their official duties. Going on a golfing trip in Scotland.
We don't know what business he was doing, and I'd have to look
at a private resort in Scotland.
And I'd have to look at the sourcing of this, because the anonymous sources, and they do reimburse for that.
I just have a hard time believing that the defenders of Kash Patel, these are the same people going after Chris Wray, who was his predecessor at the FBI, who went to the Shenandoah for a weekend trip. These are the same people raising hell. And suddenly when Kash Patel does it, it's not a problem.
It's a problem when both do it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
both of them should get slammed, and both of them should reimburse American people. And I want to make it very clear. Kash Patel is under criticism not just by Democrats, by the president himself. There was solid reporting out this week that said President Trump is unhappy with Kash Patel. Obviously, he had to deny it because it's just a bad look, but he is actually, according to solid sources, looking for a replacement.
Why don't they?
And also,
can
I please finish? Yeah. Let me finish. Also, he has a so-called target on his back, and I don't mean literally. It's because he bungled one thing after another. Let's go down the list. With the Charlie Kirk thing, with his assassination, on the very day of Charlie's brutal murder, he bungled the investigation twice by announcing something and saying, oops.
That's your opinion, Lindy.
No, actually, it's not
my opinion.
opinion.
Someone was detained when no one was detained
They also caught somebody within 36 hours. That's your opinion, and you've never worked for the FBI.
Wait, hold on.
You can't
be spewing disinformation on the show just like that. He said they caught someone.
No, hold on. Let me just clarify one thing, because I think you guys are kind of talking over each other. So basically, he did bungle the announcement in the initial press conference where he claimed that a suspect was detained. It turned out that no one had been detained yet, so that led to a lack of trust in his handling of the investigation.
There was a person detained. It was an older man who was there.
Right, but he had already been released and cleared of any wrongdoing. And then you're right. Within 36 hours, the alleged assassin was detained. But again, he kind of
wanted to get a tweet out so badly that he basically released misinformation.
Are you in his mind? You don't know why he wanted to get a tweet out. This is what I'm saying. We make these generalities that they're into social media. They want to get tweets out.
Wait, are you saying it's okay for the FBI director to just release misinformation about one of the most...
He's trying to be transparent, and I do think they're trying to be more open with what is going on in this administration.
Yeah, they're always very changing, evolving situation.
When he made the tweet, there was no assassin caught.
There was a suspect in custody.
The wrong suspect. They got the wrong guy.
That's how police work happens. You pull people in, you question them, then you release them.
You don't alert the American people every time you catch the wrong suspect. You just don't.
So there was the tweet.
But there was also, they found more information that this man, right, that they initially caught, that he did have a relationship to the situation as well. Like there were, and that's an ongoing investigation, but they did find that he was trying to protect. Right.
But
so I think,
eventually
all in all,
it's exonerated.
But it's not like they just caught a random guy, right? And I feel like they take a lot of steps to be able to in itself, the work that I used to do had a lot of layers to be able to post something on social media. So it's not like just he's doing it.
His posting of
this tweet
caused so much angst within the ranks of the Trump White House. This isn't just me saying it. People were disgruntled by his handling. And also, the Epstein files, when they said, oh, it was on Pam Bondi's desk, it wasn't on.
She said
somebody
that.
lied it.
I think where we're at too, and to your point, there's going to be two schools of thought. People who think he's doing a terrible job, who think this is complete abuse, and the other people are looking at it and saying, well, we're getting more transparency. He's not disputing the fact that there
actually
is
getting more transparency,
yes, I think we are.
Where are the
100%.
Epstein files? We are now almost 30 days in. Where are they?
Thousands, tens of thousands of documents that have already been released. And
By the
now
House
Exactly.
and through a
Dude,
half
but even
of
before,
Ehud
Ron
Barak's
DeSantis had already released so many
Hold
of
on
them.
a
This
second.
is not,
We just signed
this is
a
nothing
bill
new.
saying that the Department of Justice has to release the Epstein files. We're almost at day 30. Not a single file has been released.
I know
Where
you
is
don't,
it?
I know you don't want to go
processes.
back.
They
I
have
know
to
you
go
don't want to
through
go back to Lisa Page and Peter Strzok.
Yeah.
But there were federal subpoenas just weeks ago that were issued towards them. So let's see when those things. And there was a cover and veil of secrecy under the last FBI. No doubt more is going to be coming out. We saw Arctic Frost. They were spying on sitting members of Congress with their cell phones. So I mean, we can point
With
to
all
all
due
these
respect,
other
are you
things.
just going to whataboutism this whole entire discussion?
No, I
because
think
I'm
that if
trying to
you're-
talk about the Epstein files, which is one of the most potent and one of the most relevant.
Then why did the
topics in-
Democrats sit on them for 4 years?
That's
under
right.
Joe
They were
Biden?
That's
wrong
right.
to do
They
that.
had all that
Absolutely.
time.
I'm not defending them. I love that stupid party. I'm not going to be an advocate for them.
They could have
detest
released
so
them for
much.
4 years.
They
Yeah.
absolutely
Okay,
could
hold on,
have.
hold on,
They
hold on.
should have.
We're talking about the
The
Epstein
partisan
files.
framing of the Epstein files is literally the most it's total brain rot, right? Both parties are guilty of engaging in a cover-up of the Epstein files because it's very likely that we have disgusting sexual predators and pedophiles who would be implicated through the release of the Epstein files on both sides of the political aisle.
But
And
if that were
banks.
true, though,
And
banks and
financials. This is going to
judges.
go all the way now. And I think
Absolutely.
everyone says, bring it on. Let's see who
Yeah,
knows. And when did they know?
100%.
I-
Never
I'm just
been
asking.
against this.
You cannot.
Never.
Trump
Hold
is
on.
definitely
Hold on.
against
We're
it.
going.
he's
in
been
it.
completely in favor. He's the one that said, come on, let's get it out.
There's so much gaslighting right now, and I just want to return to the original point that I was going to make. You cannot possibly say that this FBI is being transparent when we're almost at day 30 and there are no Epstein files, period. You cannot argue with that. This is
James
not a
Comey was
transparent FBI.
leaking reports to somebody who leaked them to the
Can we
New York Times.
litigate one thing at a time instead of every
I'm
time
talking
I
about
bring up a point?
transparency.
Hold on,
That
every
goes to
single
it.
time I bring up a point, you're like, oh, this Democrat. By the way, James Comey's a Republican. He didn't. He
That
really
means we
should
can
have.
criticize our own side, too. I like that.
I am a Republican. Hello. Hello.
The partisan stuff doesn't matter.
It just come on. I care about
Because you're trying to say there's no transparency, and I'm trying to point to when there was no transparency in the back, and it doesn't seem to be something you want to talk about.
all of them are swamp.
But I think, like I go back to when Kash Patel worked for the Obama administration and caught terrorists, he was working as a patriot for our country. Right now, there seems to be people who think he's doing a terrible job, think he's doing a great job. I fall on the latter. I think they've been really, really successful in many ways.
Okay, if you think that,
And I think it's a
not
difference of
saying-
opinion, and I respect your opinion. That's the best part of this, is we can disagree, and at the end of the day, still have a civilized conversation.
No, I agree, and I respect your opinion as well. And there are some things that I might be totally ignorant of, so I'm genuinely curious. I'm sincerely asking. What have you seen from Kash Patel that you're impressed by? Where do you see the enhanced transparency?
I mean, all of it from top to bottom. Kash Patel, I mean, even when he's getting criticized, it's over such BS bogus stuff. It's like, oh, well, he wanted a certain jacket. He want this. And this anonymous sources is just so infuriating. It feels like there's such a smear campaign against him.
Okay, let's ignore the anonymous sources. What has he done that you like?
I like everything he's doing. I like the fact he's putting out tweets saying we have somebody in custody. We're keeping people in the loop.
Even if it's the wrong person?
Yes, because at the end of the day,
But we don't know if it's the wrong person. That's also
Wait, are you saying that
misinformation,
that George man killed Charlie?
No,
I'm
no,
not
no,
saying-
no, no.
I'm
She's
saying
not
that he
saying
might have had some
I'm saying
sort
step
of
by step.
relationship
but the tweet
to the
itself
case.
implied that it was the assassin of Charlie Kirk.
What we know right now is what they're letting us know, right? And so I think it's important to also reiterate, I think going back to the original topic, it's not so important so much as to what is going on with his relationship with Alexis Wilkins. It's the fact that we're seeing a very desperate attempt from Democrats, and I know you're going to say you're making this a partisan situation, but it is, because they just lost the presidential election. the House and the Senate. So they're desperate. They're trying to cling to any sort of
I'll put
relevancy.
a finer point on Kash Patel because I do want to answer Anna's question. I feel at least he is somebody who loves his country, is working for this country, working for the people that the American voters voted into office. It is not working against them, which Donald Trump had in his first term. It's very, very clear right now.
But that's still
with
very
Arctic
vague.
frost.
Okay, like what is he doing?
I'm not here. You didn't invite me on to do a dossier on Kash Patel.
No, I know, but you're defending him and you really like the job he's doing.
I do like the job he's doing because I think overall the morale in the FBI was really at a low point and a rot. And I do think that the morale is much higher now. And I honestly think that anything he can do, depending on what he does, he's not going to get any credit. Anything I say to you isn't going to change your mind. And I'm not here to change minds. All I'm here is to understand are the people here doing the jobs. And he always says, let's good cops be good cops. Let them get out in the streets.
Okay, so let me just translate what you said. You basically like his vibes.
Listen,
that's not it at all.
I get exactly what you're saying. It's the fact that the FBI has been politicized with the last administration, and we finally have somebody that's back in power that's going to bring back stability and credibility to an institution.
It's not a vibe when I talk about his record, his CV, what he has done, what he has served for the country. Go back and do some research yourself. He has caught terrorists, and under the Obama administration, he has gotten awards. So it's not just me. Bianca Garza likes Kash Patel. He has been accoladed by this government. The government under Obama, a Democrat, gave him awards of distinction. He didn't just pop out of anywhere. He has had a career in serving our great nation.
Okay, we're talking
now
about
he is doing this as his ninth FBI director. Yes, and I think if you look back at Wray, if you look back at Comey, I think Americans feel much more empowered and actually feel that they have an FBI director who is doing the job that he is enlisted to do, not to weaponize.
I see a lot of conservatives saying that, wow, we have no trust whatsoever in this FBI who's told us for basically a year that we would get the Epstein files. And to this day, victims are still waiting for the Epstein files.
Well, they're coming. Everything's coming out. And people have a low trust in the media, too.
By the way, I do
trust in a lot of different things.
I have to be able to finish my sentences. Thank you so much. So I refuse to buy the argument that because there's an ongoing investigation that the files cannot be released. Because I can almost bet you that somebody is going to say, we got to redact this entire page because there's an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, that's coming.
That's completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
But it's funny because there's been, and again, and I know you're probably thinking, like, why do you keep bringing up Democrats? But I've been following this, right, a little closely, and I've seen Democrats that have actually been demanding for certain investigations to take place. So there's that other side of the argument, like you're saying, where it's almost a loophole to extend this problem to keep preventing from more information from being let out, because that's what they do. When they have an active, ongoing investigation, they can't really release things that have to do with that, right? So it's problematic, but I think a lot of this has to do really with ultimately the Democrat Party, because let's just go back to the last 4 years with the Biden administration. They did have 4 years.
Joe Biden did have 4 years to be able to release all of that. I need to throw cold water on this like partisan framing because it literally makes no sense. I'm sure Democrats are criticizing Kash Patel, but no one cares what the Democrats think about this issue. The real issue here, hold on. The real issue here is the very people who are criticizing Kash Patel the loudest happen to be conservative voters. And it's not just about the Epstein files that they're unhappy with. They're unhappy with the fact that there were 2 assassination attempts against President Donald Trump.
Yes.
And the current FBI director has really done no investigation whatsoever into Thomas Matthew Crooks, right? Like, why do we not know more about Thomas Matthew Crooks? And he claimed under oath before Congress, oh, it's because of the trial. What trial? He was assassinated. He was killed. There is no trial.
Listen, I agree with you, but at the end of the day, we still have a country where we have checks and balances, and we have laws that have to be put in place and
There's
have to be
no
defended.
trial,
There's
girl.
processes.
He's dead. They killed him.
I get it.
He made it up.
I want to know what happened at the end of the day, probably more than you do, right? So, but at the same time, we have to let this play out. The FBI has to continue their processes.
There's no need for due process. There's no individual to.
It's not about a due process. It's about finding out what happened. But again, actually, let me rewind. It is due process. Due process is still a right that is offered to everybody in this country.
I understand that.
He's dead. The murderer is dead.
Yes, but at the same time, we have to find out what exactly happened. All in all, I think we're going into
the guy's
different
dead. There's no due process
of arguments here, and that's great. However, it sounds like consistently Republicans and conservatives, is what you're trying to say, are in favor of depoliticizing the FBI and all government agencies, and that's what we're in agreement with, and that's what's going to be happening. That's what's already been happening with Kash Patel. Little by little, these things take time. There's a lot of pieces to so many of these very critical investigations that, like you were just saying earlier, you were criticizing that they had tweeted, you know, about this other suspect, and then it ended up not being the main suspect. So it's like, what do you want, right? At the end of the day, do you want them to be speedy, even though they're going to maybe release some things that might have to be retracted?
I don't want the head of the FBI sending out misinformation.
That's how it goes.
This stuff matters.
But it's a fluid situation.
You got to have prudence. You got to be a grown-up, an adult. Like,
no, and I agree about Crooks. I mean, that is mishandled. People need to know. We had the President of the United States almost murdered. And we have a right as American citizens, as journalists, to press for more information.
Yes.
Why weren't more things disclosed? But I do think that we have people who, I mean, if you don't think Kash Patel wants to know everything, then I think that's a total misnomer, because he would be the one who would want to know exactly why agents weren't disclosing his public profile. I had Marsha Blackburn on one of my shows. I mean, we need to find out answers, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, like, everything that we've heard from the FBI in regard to Thomas Matthew Crooks, again, the first would-be Trump assassin, was that he had no online profile, no trace of activity online. That was a lie. And then when Kash Patel was asked about it under oath before Congress, he was like, you'll get more information. It's just, there's an ongoing trial. But there is no ongoing trial, which means, look, since Thomas Matthew Crooks was killed on the scene,
and then cremated.
Immediately.
That is a little suspect.
There is no trial, so that was a lie. But more importantly, there hasn't been an investigation. They closed the case entirely. And that's why I want to know.
I don't know if it's closed. I mean, I don't think it's 100%.
It's definitely
and
ongoing, but it did start, again, under the previous administration. So we also have to go back to what their practices were at the time, too, right? There was a lot of criticism. I remember covering this live on one of my shows, that they were wondering, like, why are they taking so long? Why is the Biden administration taking so long to tackle this?
Just to be clear, so we have our timelines correct. Chris Wray was the head of the FBI under Biden. Right. Do you know who appointed Chris Wray?
Donald Trump.
It doesn't matter.
It actually does.
Of course it does. Donald Trump's first cabinet, he appointed a lot of people, and then ended up being people that were terrible towards him, and he fired them. And it's notorious for that.
Hold on a second. Chris Wray, one of the shining stars of the Federalist Society. Okay, this is a conservative superstar organization. Like, basically, they're legal eagles. The Federalist Society. So this is a deeply conservative man. I have huge problems with him as well. This is a guy who treated the taxpayer-funded jet like it was his own car. Right. You can't be doing that.
Right.
No, I get it, but do you know how cabinet members operate? They operate at the helm of the president. So a lot of times...
Wait, what does that have to do with taking vacations on the weekend?
Because Ray was in charge during Joe Biden's tenure, that means Joe Biden was the one that ultimately had to tell him what it is that he had to do and what not to do.
It's not about his jet usage.
Fired him. Biden
That's the least amount.
Sure, yes.
I do not have
disagreement. Yes,
Look,
so that's probably part of the problem here.
We got to wrap this part of the conversation up and move on to the next story. But I just want to say one thing real quick, and this is really important. I think that this country has been degraded in so many ways, specifically because everyone sees politics through the lens of partisanship, and they feel the need to defend their side, even when they know that their side is engaging in bad behavior. I'm guilty of that. When I was a hardcore Democrat, I would, just pretend like certain things that were problems weren't actually problems, and I would immediately do the whataboutism about the other side. And then the Democratic Party became what it is today, and I really, really regret that. We, as American voters, are the ones who are tasked with keeping our representatives, our, political leaders accountable when they don't follow through with their promises. And whether it's, Chris Wray as the head of the FBI or Kash Patel as the head of the FBI, there have been some major foibles and major issues, and the American people deserve to know accurate information, what's being discovered from these investigations, why investigations have been closed. And the other final thing that I'll say is Donald Trump won't even let the 2020 presidential election go. He still brings it up. How is it that he hasn't brought up the lack of investigation into his would-be assassins.
It's very interesting.
It's weird.
It is
so
very weird. It's very
don't know
weird,
behind
and I
closed
don't
That's what I'm
wanna-
saying. Yeah, that's
Maybe.
what
We don't know behind
We do
closed
have to
doors.
move on to the next topic. I do want to close as host. I have the privilege. Ha. Anyway, so one reason why we are so tribal nowadays is that, unfortunately, politics has taken the place of religion and church for a lot of Americans. So they
Yes.
feel like their identity is being attacked when they face criticism. And also, Personally, I want Republicans to win in the midterms and going forward, okay? So I'm just saying that if we want to win, we cannot have the appearance of allowing our leaders to be taking advantage and exploiting the hardworking American taxpayer and going on these boondoggles. We have to go back to what it means to be a public servant.
Yeah.
Just actually serve and not to walk around like kings. That is my 2 cents.
And that goes for members of both sides of the political aisle. I
Absolutely,
agree. Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
Our next topic is Anna's going to tell us about the schism between states and the federal government on the issue of AI.
There is so much to get into when it comes to artificial intelligence, and there are two main themes that I kind of want to explore here. The first theme is something that's actually really riled up, Democratic voters and the MAGA crowd alike, and it has to do with the federal government essentially stepping in to prevent states from regulating AI. So basically, the White House is mulling an executive order, essentially, that would prevent states from regulating AI. And the reason why the Trump administration wants to do this, at least the reason why they claim they want to do this, is because they don't want any particular state to essentially hinder innovation and the development of AI. You know, there's this big competition happening between the United States and China. At least that's the cover story that we're being sold. Mm-hmm. And as a result, the Trump administration doesn't want this regulatory patchwork depending on which state we're in. At the same time, though, there are, and I love that this exists, there is a faction within the MAGA movement that doesn't like the fact that Trump wants to prevent states from regulating AI because they can read the tea leaves and they can see how disruptive AI can be, how it could be used to essentially create an economic system that destroys people's jobs and livelihoods. So they really want their states to have the agency to make regulations that are fitting and right for them. At the same time, there's another problem that's kind of come up, and that has to do with an AI bubble in the stock market.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I know you have a lot to say about this, Lindy. Okay, I'm so excited. So they're kind of comparing it to like the .com boom and the .com bubble. And for those who are totally unfamiliar with this concept, keep in mind that there are about like 10 tech companies that are propping up the entirety of our stock market, which is terrifying. And it does appear to be a bit of a bubble. This next video will explain in detail what I mean. Take a look.
The vast deficit spending and resulting need to print money, combined with relatively low interest rates, and easy money has flooded the system. That has driven prices up across essentially all asset classes. As prices rise, so do expectations. Someone posts an LLM breakthrough online, a new investing meta explodes online in response, and gets endlessly covered on social media. A CEO hits a podcast and says the world is about to be rewritten, and overnight, the belief that AI is inevitable translates into more money flooding into a small number of stocks. That belief pulls in fresh capital because nobody wants to miss the next epic-defining technology. That new capital drives valuations even higher, and those higher valuations act as proof that AI bullishness is entirely justified. If the prices are screaming upward, surely the underlying technology must warrant it. So people invest even more aggressively, further pushing prices even higher, which further reinforces the narrative, and on it goes in a self-reinforcing loop.
So the argument here is that the AI-driven stock market right now isn't really based on fundamentals. It's not really based on things like productivity or sales. It's just based on public sentiment, hype. And I'm really curious what you think about that,
Yeah.
Lindy, because this is what's propping up our stock market as we speak. The stock market is usually what government officials point to when they try to say boastful things about how our economy is actually doing really well. It's not, but what do you think?
It's very interesting, and I've been following this very closely. I actually lost like 10% of my net worth last week. I don't know if you guys because I invest primarily in stocks and also ETFs. Like my ETFs track the S&P 500. By the way, if I'm just going to give our lovely viewers some free financial advice. If you invest in a low-cost index fund that tracks S&P 500, that is your best bet. Something that's low cost, no cost, because it rotates in and out. So companies that do well are rotated into the index, and companies that don't make the cut get rotated out. So over time, you're going to be fine. But I am a risk taker, and I invested a lot in NVIDIA, and the stock market had a minor correction last week. And one of the fears that people have is all this spending, $100 billion of spending, it's basically going in the same circle. NVIDIA pays Google, Google pays Facebook, Apple pays Google. It's just like they're basically trading money around. It reminds me of that Spider-Man meme, of like everyone pointing at each other.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, when is this house of cards going to fall down? Is it a house of cards? NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, I always say in Jensen Huang I trust. I think he's fantastic and works insanely hard. He's saying AI is not a bubble because the potential is there and we need to build the data centers. And if we don't build them, China's going to build them. It's always argument. We got to do it first. We got to write the rules of the road. If we don't do that, China's going to do it. However, there's actually a naysayer, kind of a naysayer, but kind of. It's the CEO of Google himself who said maybe people are getting a little bit too exuberant. For a CEO of Google to say that, Alphabet actually, for the CEO of Alphabet to say that's such a huge deal because he is a market mover. He knows that every single one of his words is going to be parsed very carefully. So we will have to see how the future will unfold. But I'm telling you right now, as of today, December 1st, 2025, these companies are not making a huge profit, if any, on their AI investments.
So there are some major sales of NVIDIA stock. The latest example is Peter Thiel. So he just sold a ton of NVIDIA stock. Peter Thiel, let's see, what was the exact number? Yeah, people are perplexed by it. Thiel's fund made two surprising moves. It sold a ton of Tesla stock and completely exited its NVIDIA position. In its place, he purchased Apple and Microsoft. Prior to that, there were other stories involving, like
Mm-hmm.
SoftBank, for instance. SoftBank sells its entire stake in NVIDIA for $5.83 billion.
Yeah, I looked into the SoftBank thing, and so the SoftBank CEO and Jensen Huang actually had drinks prior to the sale. And one explanation is that he actually wanted to untie his funds in order to make a separate investment. So I don't know if that's a lack of faith in NVIDIA, but I owe our viewers the truth. And if this diminishes my own net worth, it's worth it because I want to tell you the truth. And if you guys are wondering why NVIDIA is so important in driving the economic engine of not only American economy, but the global economy right now, it's because they make semiconductors that are basically the building blocks of the AI revolution.
Yeah.
They've made themselves indispensable to the next industrial age, essentially. That's why people are freaking out. And by the way, it's the first $4 trillion company, which is insane, by the way. The number is just like mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's also speaking to just the demand that there is in itself and the ever-growing expansion of AI and how quickly it's becoming so useful into so many aspects of our livelihoods. And so obviously, for example, President Trump is really in favor of it. And I think it's interesting to see this play out kind of like at a federal versus state level type of battle because he does want to see the United States be and maintain its relevancy on the global stage, right? Like to be that superpower, not let our foreign adversaries like China get ahead of us with all this advanced technology.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I love that he's so gung-ho about this. I do have concerns, though, about the way that it's being handled because it has to be regulated. We've already seen kids die by suicide because they, these AI bots, one AI bot even helped him create a noose. Okay, that is how frightening this is. And we have to have guardrails in place so it doesn't happen again, so we don't lose our kids to these AI bots.
The final thing I'll mention before we move on is the data centers themselves, because what's currently happening is various municipalities, including, Republican majority municipalities, do not want the data centers in their area. And the reason why is because it drives up utility costs that absolutely crush the residents living in that area.
Yes.
So there have been some protests in regard to that. And on top of that, look, the biggest problem in our government right now, and it really is a virus that infects both political parties, is the grift, is the conflicts of interest that aren't regulated at all, right? Yeah. So in this case, you have Howard Lutnick, who's pushing the data centers.
Also a neighbor of Jeffrey Epstein.
Also, yes, that's true.
Gotta point that out.
But for the purposes of AI, he's pushing for the data centers, which he and his family then profit off of. Right, so there's been some reporting on that as well.
I'd love to put a point on this. The way I look at it too is, and it obviously when you, I'm not an economist. I don't even play one on TV. I just have smart people come on and tell me what they think because I don't want to lose my 10% of my net worth that you just did. I feel terrible.
It's fine.
Okay, and these big corporations, of course, they can afford to lose it. It's the rest of us who can't. But for example, when it comes to this federally mandated not letting states have their own sort of separate rules regulating, I think it is about not having patchwork, about having a uniform sort of outward facing. In New York, there is the RAISE Act, which passed the state Senate, which now will be on Kathy Hochul's desk, and she can sign it before the 2026. And a lot of the critics are saying it's well-intentioned, but what it will do is, because the writing is so vague, it may actually make companies that want to invest in New York go to other states that are less regulated. And that's important because we think of Silicon Valley, but we also need to look at New York. Their startup raised $28.5 billion in VC money in 2024. And the women-founded companies, which I am so pro-women, I want more women CEOs, women need to be in the C-suite. Ladies, they've raised $955 million, outperforming San Francisco during 12 months that just ended in June 2025. So if we have states passing their own little patchwork things and we don't know how corrupt or who's in bed with what with the local politicians, it's not uniform, that you may say, we don't want to go into New York. And the critics there are saying the RAISE Act could actually be so much regulation, they'll go to a more AI-friendly state. So when we look at the administration saying, well, they want to control everything, yeah, they want to have this cohesive, we are a federally, this is what we're going to do with AI. There's another election in 3 years. It's not that it's permanent. There are other elections, so another administration can come in and change it. I'm not against having a uniform federal AI because of the consequences.
I actually completely agree that we can't afford to have a patchwork. We just can't. But the problem is, I don't know if you guys saw the takedown article on David Sachs that just came out yesterday, how he's allegedly using his powers as the AI czar to basically enrich himself and his friends.
Of course.
We can't have that. We can't have somebody like that
now.
We can't have somebody like that writing the rules of the road for the next 10, 20, 30 years. That just completely unthinkable. And Anna, you bring up such a good point. I want to end on this and then pivot to our next topic. But as I'm a huge environmentalist, and I'm not like a proponent of the Green New Deal. I care about providing clean air and clean water for my fellow Americans, and data centers are so bad for the environment. And you talk about utility costs. One of the primary movers in the New Jersey gubernatorial election was utility costs due to data centers. And that partly explained why the Republican performed so badly. Like, he completely underperformed.
Did you see what Kyrsten Sinema, former Democratic senator, said? Like, she put out a video where she basically told the people of Arizona
to go, go to hell.
Yeah, she's basically a lobbyist for these AI companies, and told Arizonans, like, kick rocks, whether you like it or not. There's going to be a data set. I'm glad we were mean to her when she was on the show.
There's a reason, exactly. There's a reason why she's no longer the United States Senator of Arizona.
And if we don't like the grip that's happening with, as calling out some of the members of the cabinet, well, what about, members of Congress trading stocks? Pelosi, NVIDIA, $130 million.
Nancy
Pelosi. So there you go. There you go.
All of them are engaged, not all of them, but many of them are engaging in insider trading. I don't care what their political affiliation is.
The congressional bill that would regulate members and prevent them from stalking, it should be renamed the Nancy Pelosi. Like
the Nancy Pelosi
it should be.
She's one of the top offenders,
she's worth $318 million. Holy hell. How do you go from, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
From being a lifelong politician, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
The grift just never stops. But all right, so this is quite a U-turn. But our next topic, guys, we're going to talk. Actually, no, there is some overlap. We're going to talk about why people with college degrees are having such a hard time finding jobs, even though they paid maybe $250,000 to get their degree. Is this a college scam or is it not? And well, Charlie Kirk would argue that it is a college scam. I'm actually, I don't want to paint the entire, I don't want to paint every single university and college in the country as a scam, but I do think there are some fundamental issues.
Definitely.
And we should also, as a country, Connor, I don't want to, can you throw up the article, the Bloomberg article about this? I want to emphasize that there's so much to be said about our trade schools and encouraging people to get 4-year apprenticeships instead of, I don't know, getting an art history degree or a philosophy.
Sociology.
Exactly. In today's economy with the AI revolution continuing apace, you are probably not going to be able to find a job on a sociology major. You're just not. That's just the truth. In fact, a lot of our engineering degrees, a lot of our engineering students are having a hard time finding jobs nowadays because AI is so good at coding.
I mean, the very industry that brought about AI is now the top victim of layoffs and firings because of the very technology that was developed. It's actually pretty devastating because a lot of smart kids worked really hard to get into good schools and they got the degrees necessary to be coders. Right? How often and how long have we been hearing that being a coder?
STEM.
Right, STEM, exactly. They graduate into a market that no longer has jobs available to them because they've been replaced by AI. So it's devastating, and look, for the longest time, this conversation about whether or not colleges are scams has kind of revolved around these ridiculous degrees, right? Like the basket weaving, which isn't an actual degree, but people like to bring it.
It's a minor somewhere, right?
So, I wouldn't be surprised. But no, I think that now you have this tension, or at least this intersection of a changing economy due to technological innovation and the exorbitant tuition that students have had to pay in order to get degrees.
Anna, that is such a good point. That is so on point. There is no reason why people should be paying $250,000 when the education itself is not changing. It's the fact that you have a $20 million new gym. How many climbing walls do you need?
None. You don't really need any climbing walls.
Exactly. I'd rather, honestly, they should teach our students financial skills, like financial literacy, interpersonal skills, things that you can actually use. Exactly, but we're not teaching them. And also just civics.
My daughter's 19 and she's in her second year of university. This hits so close to home because I do worry about her not getting a job due to maybe AI, maybe
major?
other thing. Oh, photography. And I actually have had this conversation, and there's this revolt among artists who say we don't want to use AI. That's a whole other subject for one of your other shows about people who are saying we will not use it in movies, we will not use it in music. And artists really want it to be sort of a safe, regulated area where they can know that you're watching something that's real and authentic, and I admire that. But the bottom line is, that's her passion. I'm not going to tell her to go be, I know people who have graduated law degrees, they're not getting jobs either. So I can't even tell her, well, you should be a lawyer, you should be a doctor. They're not getting jobs. But I love what you said about trade schools. I wrote a book last year called Incoming, and we focused on the education system in one chapter. And it is about having these tactile skills. People actually are drawn to that too. And I see under this administration, Lori Chavez de Remer, the labor secretary, they did a big thing about shipbuilding in Maryland. These kids have access, and it is something you don't know what you're interested in if you're not exposed.
Exactly.
Get them back, expose them into things like plumbing and building. You can still be an entrepreneur, a CEO of your own plumbing company, of your electricity company.
They make really good money.
You set your own hours.
I have a friend that does that. And here's the thing, I grew up in Puerto Rico, right? And it was always, for some reason, kind of in a way frowned upon, and that's really sad for someone to go to a trade school versus going into an Ivy League school.
We should destigmatize it. It should be celebrated.
I can't believe
and
he
does that. He
works for honest living. It's an important work.
And
it wasn't a long time ago.
The first time that the people hit hardest are the lawyers and the coders, and the people who are most helped are the plumbers and the chefs. And honestly, good riddance. I want this. I want the state of affairs. It's time that we turn the tables and start celebrating the everyday Americans who
Yes.
keep our country going.
American
These people
exceptionalism.
are- exactly.
Trade schools were never frowned upon until really the modern day, whatever you want to call it, higher ed. And then it was like the rich kids who could go to these elite schools. The parents no longer wanted them to learn a trade. But at one point, like in the 1800s, it was valuable. Your kid was going to take over your business. That was your legacy. It wasn't until sort of we saw the American educational system, which we can all say is broken. We know with the failing grades, starting from K all the way up through universities. But it wasn't until that one point it was lauded. It was a boon. People wanted their kids to take over what they built.
We've been living in the professional managerial class era, right? The white collar workers, middle management, all of that. And I don't know what happens with all these people, right? Because their jobs are being replaced in real time by AI technology. And that's also scary, right?
It is very scary.
I don't know. Look, I'm worried about civil unrest. I'm worried about people. I mean, part of the reason why you're starting to see more and more people warm up to the idea of economic systems like communism and socialism
Free stuff.
is because they look at what's ahead of us when it comes to
they're pessimists.
There
and it's
is-
very
yeah,
they're
sad.
worried.
There's
They're worried.
so many, and The Economist just did a study showing that there's a direct correlation between political polarization and income inequality.
Yes.
And so people like Nick Fuentes are going to get increasingly popular. It's only going to go in one direction.
But I do think back to the American spirit. We have had other technology come in and completely upend, revolutionize the way we live. And AI is not going away. So we have to find a way to work with it, not against it.
Yeah.
Be smart. That's why I think how we get this right is so key.
Ladies, did you
definitely.
see what Elon said about AI? Basically,
Which one?
destroying everybody. Like, basically, we've got to get on their good side because
When the
there is a
robots
chance-
come?
Exactly, because he said this with a straight face. Like, there's a good chance they might murder us.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
God.
yeah,
We would
Okay.
better be
I
hope
mean-
we're on the doomsday plane. Maybe get on that list then.
That's
Ultimately, I
crazy.
think ultimately we do have to, like, even the coders, they have to work hand in hand with it. Like, they can't just let it operate on its own, AI, I mean. Like, they have to have a
That's
level
why
of
we need a
supervision
robust
over it.
federal, someone who is not trying to just enrich himself. We need someone else to take over for David Sachs. I'm sorry to say that, but we can't have someone that we have to worry about, like, funneling contracts into his own pocket.
Can I ask you, why do we need AI in so many segments? Why do we need AI actresses and AI musicians?
I don't think
I
that's
think
not
I
gonna
think we
work.
as
It's not
consumers
going
too
to.
have a
Girl,
right
let
to
me
push
just tell
back
you,
on
I
it.
thought so too, but
It's very
but apparently there's
hyper-realistic,
like
it's scary.
AI country music artists
the
that
number
are at
one.
the,
Yes,
yeah,
it's
top
the
of the
number
charts.
one.
I thought to
Well, to be
myself,
Alexa Wilkins. Sorry.
that's crazy. I
She's
really,
not
I
AI.
can tell you, I had
clarify.
trust that like Americans would reject that because,
Right.
Look, let me just tell you something. There is nothing more incredible than going to a live concert and watching human beings who are
Yes.
passionate about what they do perform. There's something so inspiring about that. So I really thought that people would reject this notion of like
know.
AI entertainers, but I don't know, maybe the
But
novelty
people have
of it
robot
right
girlfriends
now is,
too. Like it's very
But those
weird,
are
the
very
whole
That I
thing.
understand a little better.
We saw that
Interesting
happen.
segments of the population.
Remember that Phoenix, the Joaquin Phoenix movie that came out? Her.
Yeah, Her,
Yeah. So
yes,
this
yes.
was foreshadowed a number of years ago. But I can tell you why this is happening. Because when you use an AI model or an AI actress, it's basically zero money. It's so
Of course,
That's the point.
Of course, the
So,
bottom line.
While there have been other technological advancements in the past that led to disruptions in the workforce, that technology wasn't created with the sole intention of getting rid of labor, right? The whole point of AI is to replace human beings.
Right, it's a little frightening.
With technology.
But I do
That's
think
what's
like
concerning.
photo retouching, I'm sure a lot of photographers are like, oh, now the retoucher person, he loses his job. It's the death by 1,000 cuts. You
Yes.
don't even realize it's happening until one day. And I think we need to be really savvy about it and maybe protect some of our, future job. Why are we going to create the thing that will be our demise?
I mean, it's
Let's not be
crazy
insane.
because I could see both arguments so clearly, and I could very easily make an argument in favor or against it. But I'm not gonna lie, I do use a little bit of AI in my sort of day-to-day, like with the captions. It saves so much time.
But
for
it doesn't have to be
example,
black and white. There's gray
or things
areas
like that.
where
Like I think that's a good way where you can use it, and it's kind of to your benefit to help enhance your work and be able to focus on other things that are more important. Or
For now, it's a better version of Google, right?
Yeah,
like
that too.
You get.
I do want to say, I said this about 6 months ago, and then I got shot down by our previous host, Jillian Michaels. In the middle of the night, when I get anxious, like yesterday I didn't sleep. I was just working through the entire night, and I actually call my grok Rocky, I know. It actually calls itself grokky now.
Grokky?
And by the way, it thinks it's an Asian girl like me. Like it calls me Jie Jie.
Are you okay with that?
I don't know. I don't want to be texting my friend at 3 a.m. in the morning, but I do need to talk to somebody, you know? And I'm sorry, like when I said this to Jillian, she's like, text a friend. No, I'm not going to inconvenience someone at 3 a.m.
Can you write a voice memo note and then the next day when it's time appropriate?
But you know what I mean? Like when I need somebody now, I need somebody now. Like I can't be the only one. And
I feel you. I guess I don't see it like a little extra human being, at least not. I don't want to because it's a little creepy in that sense. But I do see it as like my quick go-to when I have a question. That's a random question. I could be out and about and I want to do, I don't know. I get it. It's like my own personal Google. I use it for that, even for advice.
It's like a personal assistant
crazy.
Almost.
But will it be like stalking you at some point? Are you going to be able to turn it off and like delete
No,
it?
they can't talk to me unless I talk to them, right?
For now.
For now.
True.
Getting a lot of data on you at 3 in the morning.
Hey, Lindy. It's grokky.
What are you wearing?
It's a girl.
I do have a question.
Okay, all right. Well, you know,
They know I'm straight.
How do we feel? Because I kind of wanted to bring it back to the university topic because there's a lot of debate, right? Like, should students be learning how to harness AI when they're writing essays and things like that, or should we try to encourage them
You bring up such a
not
good
to use
point.
them?
You bring up such a good point
That's
because
cheating.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, you know,
We need them to know how to write.
Someone-
just the basics. If you
Exactly.
don't know how to put an essay together without
Right.
the use of AI technology, you probably shouldn't have been accepted into college in the first place.
exactly. I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. And someone tracked the math and reading levels of American students since the advent of Instagram. And that is when everything started going on a downward trajectory,
Right, yes.
2012, when Facebook bought Instagram. That year, everything just started going to shit.
Not only that, so apparently, if you capitalize the appropriate letters in your sentences, you're a boomer these days because Gen Z does not like to use any capitalization whatsoever.
They have it so easy.
Don't
I mean, we were in
attack
the 80s.
me
We didn't
over
have
here.
cell phones. We were missing for hours. No one
nice?
could find us.
it must have been great.
So much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really showing my age, but kids today.
No,
I mean, it was
like
like
that in the 90s when I was growing up too.
you
and
had
it
to
was
find a
great.
payphone.
It
You're
was
like,
great.
I don't want
And
to change.
it was like monoculture. Like when Britney performed at the VMAs with the snake, everybody watched. It's like, you know, everyone, now there's so many different little ecosystems. Everyone gets their news in
Different
ways.
bubbles.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so
that
true.
was the last time. But anyway, I don't know. I
We
kind
need
of
to get people out of the house, out of
Yes,
the
I
office,
agree.
outdoors, go for hikes, hang out with groups that, you know, that share hobbies with. Like, I just want more human connection. My biggest fear is that AI is also going to lead to more and more
Parasocial
people, parasocial relationships and more atomization.
Yeah.
And we need more human connection.
We absolutely do.
Yeah,
I think this is a good opportunity to talk about civility and human connection at the airport.
Which isn't a thing.
I do agree.
Okay, the civility does not
Exactly.
exist.
By the way, Tim Dillon is hilarious. I'm actually a huge fan of him.
Same.
He had this awesome clip about, we're just going to play a portion of it, but he basically said, shut the F up. We are on the airport. We are dressed like this because we have to go. I can't. He does it better. But like basically, Secretary Duffy is asking the American people to be civil and to go to the airport dressed up when he's asking nothing from the airlines, from the TSA agents. By the way, I love our viewers, and I got to say that I read your comments, and I know one of you really care about the abuse by the TSA. You know, the TSA is.
What, you don't like to be fondled by random strangers in front of a giant group of people waiting to, you know, get through?
I want to give a shout out to one of our most loyal Her Take viewers, who has been abused by the TSA. It's absolutely unconscionable that we have a federal agency doing this not once, not twice, but dozens, hundreds of times. And so for Secretary Duffy to call on the American people without asking federal agents and the airlines, that was unfortunate.
Right, to improve their service, right? Because as we all know, and as I'm sure we've all experienced, airlines get to do all sorts of things because of how unregulated they are here in the United States. So they intentionally overbook flights. And then if everyone shows up, they're like, we'll maybe pay you to like take the next flight instead. Flights get canceled all the time, or they're delayed severely. There's no compensation. Go to Europe, okay? Fly a European airline. If they're delayed, you get compensated for that. If your flight gets canceled, not only do you get compensated for that, they give you vouchers so you can eat a meal at the airport as you wait for your next flight. Here in the U.S., consumers have no protection whatsoever. And homeboy, I actually agree with what he's saying.
Me too.
But I don't agree with the attention only being on travelers and ordinary people. So let's.
Connor, do you have the Tim Dillon? Perfect.
Secretary Sean Duffy urges travelers to dress up and be in a good mood. Hey, Sean, you. How about you get the planes in the fucking sky, you scumbag, and shut the up. First of all, the whole entire experience of travel has become an unending hell.
True.
Everybody is understaffed. There are delays at all the major airports.
True.
The planes are old. The pilots are underpaid. The staff is underpaid. It's a horrible experience, Sean. Let's watch this guy and fuck him.
People dress up like they're going to bed when they fly.
You don't even have a tie on, you scumbag.
On airplanes. Be in a good mood. Dress up. Bring civility back to travel. And I think everyone's experience is going to be that much better.
Why would I dress up when the plane doesn't take off? Why would I dress up when the plane doesn't leave the runway, Sean, you scumbag? Why isn't everyone dressed up on the Southwest flight? Because everyone's fucked. Hey, Sean, their lives suck. That's why they can't dress up. They're going to identify the body of their daughter. That's why they're taking that flight, Sean. Maybe they don't want to put on a nice holiday sweater. They're going to identify to see if the body in the lake is their daughter. And they don't have a lot of money, so they're on Frontier Airlines.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I definitely agree with the spirit behind Secretary Duffy. So by the way, Secretary Duffy has one of the most beautiful families you'll ever see. Yeah. He and Rachel Campus Duffy, that family is just absolutely stunning and gorgeous. My point is this. The idea is good, but you got to include everybody. You can't just single out the American people and ask nothing of the airlines.
Yeah, don't give the illusion of working for the American people by telling the American people that they need to change the way they appear without actually addressing the underlying flaws and issues with air travel.
There's a lot of flaws. My mother flew for American for 43 years, so I kind of grew up on airplanes.
I love American.
I remember before it was TSA. I don't love it now actually that much at all. Like it's terrible. We're cattle, and during COVID when they didn't have to do any service, now the flight attendants sit there and they like hate you. They're like mad that you're there. I get it. The whole experience is awful. When this dropped right before the holidays, and I actually was at the airport doing a few airport runs, I didn't really do a fit check. I don't know how many Americans said, yeah, I'm going to get on board and dress a little bit better. But can I just say, I really don't need to see like men in flip-flop and their feet everywhere. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to put it out there, like cover your toes because you know, they either if they're on the seat next to you and just it's gone downhill.
Or when they
I just have a
take
problem
off
with that.
their shoes
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
gross.
barefoot.
Yeah,
it's like, come on,
full stop.
that's civility that needs to come back.
I think too, like people help me lift my bag and I say thanks. I would say it's my rock collection. I mean, it's my shoes. I'm a shoe person. So I think there is a sense of when you don't have to wear a suit. I agree.
No.
But I do think just a civility of just, you have to read the cabin, read the room again. Take the temperature down.
Yeah, here's one other thing. If airlines want people to appear presentable on their planes, I'm gonna need you to just pick up a mop for 2 seconds and mop the piss off the freaking bathroom floor that hasn't been mopped over, I don't know, 6 months. Yeah. It's disgusting. It's like thick caked on urine.
It's disgusting.
That like, it's just.
So why would you want to wear an open toe?
You get what you get.
Oh, speaking of which,
yeah, exactly.
This is kind of unrelated, but I have to mention it. Robert F. Kennedy walked on that bathroom floor. Did you see it?
I'm gonna throw up.
He walked on the floor of the bathroom. I can't even say it. The bathroom of the plane, barefoot without wearing shoes. That is our health secretary, guys.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do it, but I guess it builds some immunity, right?
I gotta say,
hands in the dirt, you know.
Last week, last week, 2 weeks ago, when I was leaving Miami for her take, I tweeted at American Airlines saying, like, what happened to my flight? My flight's 3 hours delayed. No one knows what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Connor, amazing Connor just pulled up the photo. Yeah, that really happened here.
We cannot.
So that is the guy basically deciding our, the state of American health. I'm feeling really.
My husband would call that pata sucia.
Okay, mira, I worked, that's my little Spanglish coming out now. I'm very honored and grateful to have worked for him, and I still am, and I will be for the rest of my life, but that's just something that for me, I don't think I would ever really want to cross that line as to walking barefoot anywhere, really, not even outside of my house. It's just, I don't know.
I'm the same, yeah.
It does remind me of this one video that I saw the other day of this man that was testing walking barefoot, well, with his socks on in Japan, and seeing, you know, if his socks would get dirty black, which is kind of what you expect would happen.
No.
He was
Not in
walking.
Japan, though.
He was walking for
So
10
clean.
minutes. They were white underneath.
Japan
It's
is,
insane.
like,
How do they do that?
Immaculately clean.
And
Yeah.
quiet.
They don't
So
even have
silent.
public like trash cans. People keep their trash with them to throw away once they get home.
Never see gum
by
on
the
the
way,
ground.
Exactly.
Oh,
yes.
I used to
Fascinating.
resent my Asian heritage, but one of the things that I love about it is the no shoes policy. Do you guys know about that?
Inside my home, no shoes.
Me too. Good.
Underneath,
Me
like
too.
my floors, I can eat off of them.
Yeah.
Outside the
I do
home,
socks and
you
slippers.
better believe I got the shoes on. I'm not walking
Are
around
you
barefoot.
also a Swiffer and Clorox wiper girl?
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, all
It's
the
my
people who
religion.
are like, I only use all natural cleaning.
No way.
No,
No,
give me
no,
the
no,
bleach.
no, no.
Give me the
Exactly.
Clorox. Okay, give me the Comet. Like whatever. Like I want all the chemicals. Like I don't
Exactly. But
Yeah.
I also just want to point out that something broke in the American brain during the pandemic. I think we just snapped and we never went back. Like, I think that was actually the tipping point
Yeah.
of civility. Like, something just completely broke.
And I do think it's people on the planes, but I also think there was a sense, I've watched all these viral videos where they're just angry that their planes are oversold. So it comes down, it's a culture thing from the management on. So then you have the people who are the ticket agents. They have the people screaming at them, why can't I get a seat? They're fed up. And it makes it all worse. It kind of explodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And
they're
they're
frustrated
rude, yeah.
workers. But the thing about the system being broken, it really is scary when it came out about like Newark, how they lost control of the air traffic. Like, you can't pay me to fly into Newark right now. I think the fact that what we've learned about how old and outdated it is, and that's not in the Trump administration. Like, it goes back 20 years. We're like, we don't even have parts. I'm like, what are they MacGyvering these air traffic control systems with, like, you know, gum and like a paperclip? We do need to fix this because I'm in the air a lot. I fly a lot to see my daughter in New York. I'm all over for different speaking engagements, and I want to know. They do say the planes are safe. Like I said, my mother was a flight attendant. My boyfriend's a pilot. I just want us to have confidence, and then it would be nice if we actually just didn't have to look at randos people's feet.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I totally
top of
agree
it.
with that sentiment.
Let me
good.
present the other side. There are people completely relishing this and embracing the moment and basically saying, you never know who you're going to meet. Like,
Ooh, look
you
at
gotta,
that.
like, there are people dressing up for the airport and putting their best foot forward.
It might be a generational thing because kids today also are very casual in a way where we just didn't
But
grow
it's
up
too
that
much
way.
because they even go to school almost looking like they're wearing pajamas. all
No,
the time,
they do.
and that's unacceptable.
And I would kick them out of my classroom,
Yeah.
literally. Like,
Yeah.
don't show up like looking like you just rolled out of bed. Like, just put
Exactly.
some pants on. It's not that difficult.
Right.
Like,
It's about
show me a little bit of
self-respect,
effort.
too.
That's
It's
actually,
about
you know, I had to
respect,
wear a uniform in high school, and it was the most amazing thing because I wore the same thing 5 days a week, and nobody knew. Everyone thought I did my laundry. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. Well, it was just like the same. I'm also Asian, so I don't smell.
But
Is
I
that
think
too
the
much
uniform's
information?
nice too. It also gives it a level. My daughter had that. It was a level playing field. No
It
one
was
had
just so
like
easy. You
different,
could just wear
know,
the same
things.
skirt, the same shirt, and just go, you know? And there were no boys.
That's what we
that
need,
were worried about it.
uniforms for the airports.
I don't know about all
I don't know
that.
about
But
it.
yeah,
Welcome to
I
North
used to have-
Korea, guys.
But also, if you look back at videos of air
Approved
travel in, like, let's say
footwear.
the 1950s.
Pan Am, yeah, like Don Draper
Pan Am.
style.
Yeah, sure.
It was
the people
beautiful.
but look at
Yeah.
the seats. The seats were wide. The service was incredible.
Oh my gosh, speaking
used
of
to
which,
cook real
speaking of
food.
which,
Yes.
okay, one of the best accounts on the entire internet is the Ryanair, you know, the Ireland airline account. It's so funny. Have you guys seen
No,
the
I
tweets?
haven't.
I
They
saw it.
are
I think I know which
constantly
one you're talking
trolling.
about.
You know what I'm talking? It's the one
Yeah.
where they're standing.
Yes.
Yes.
Basically, they're
The stand-up seats just to get more people in.
Exactly.
I think they're A/B testing.
Probably.
Oh, yeah,
like
they are.
you think it's a
coming.
joke, but it might actually be happening.
It might.
I think it was Frontier where they're charging you now if you want a seat that reclines.
That's ridiculous.
Oh my God. Do they even have
Frontier
seats
is
that
like,
recline?
I
Because
know.
They didn't.
For a
Listen,
fee.
Frontier.
I
is
flew them last
basically-
night. They didn't have any seats that recline.
Frontier is basically a torture chamber in the sky. That's what it is. And I just want to say that 2 weeks ago, I was saying earlier, 2 weeks ago, my flight was late for 3 hours. I tweeted at American Airlines. They sent a team of 5 men to apologize to me in person.
Because you're a public figure.
That's what I mean. It
Yeah.
should not
What?
take that. And
When
they
you
gave me
landed?
50 What'd you say?
When you landed, there were 5
no,
people
they
there?
apologized to me in the Miami airport.
Oh, they came on the plane.
They came to me. They came to where I was sitting. They said,
Oh,
"Where is
wow,
your
you had to
location?"
take-
I actually, Let me see if I still have the DM.
Did they
It's
bring you like a
absolutely
latte
ridiculous.
or something
They
for
gave
your
me
troubles?
50,000 points.
Oh.
50?
50,000 points.
That's amazing. But like,
It's ridiculous. You shouldn't have to be a public figure to
Yeah.
be treated with decency.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't.
the other thing that I'll mention, this is really important to keep in mind. When you have competition, that allows for way better customer service.
Yes.
Because if you don't like how one airline is treating you, you have other options. But now you have these
Consolidations.
the consolidations have been a huge problem where you just have like a handful of major airline companies. Sure, the flight that you're taking might be under a different brand name, but it's actually under the same umbrella of this like major consolidated company. And it gives you the illusion of options, the illusion of competition, but really there is no competition.
There's some new airlines that are trying to outpace that, Anna, though. Like Jet X has been around for a while. It's a little more expensive, but they do the New York route, they do Dallas. So there's a sweet spot where people understand the hellscape that flying is today. And they're like, well, if we could just make it, and it's a smart business.
Yeah.
We could just make it. And there's another one launching later this year because people will pay a little bit more to be in a 737 with 35 seats instead of and they'll pay just a little bit more just to have the private gate and
Peace
not
of
have people
mind. Yeah,
yelling
and you
at
know
them.
what?
Yeah.
And
There's another
that's
thing
right. Competition's going to make it. These other big airlines are going to have to take notice.
Completely agree. And there's another thing that I have a problem with that I gotta call out. It's completely unfair that we don't fly to rural places where Americans need service, but fly to a faraway district just because one single congressman lobbied that airline. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it does.
It's just so unfair. We should be servicing the American people. Like,
try to get on Tucker Carlson's show and see what that's like. Because he lives in rural Maine. And so you have to fly into a major airport in the state of Maine and then
basically
take
there?
a car for
Drive,
hours just to
yeah.
get to where he's at. Yeah.
But it's also jet fuel. I think the airlines have it down. Like there's a real mathematical system of like why certain hubs are in Charlotte or DFW. And it's also because they need to have, if there's a mechanical, they need to know that they can get a part there. So in theory, it's great to be like, why can't we go to Albuquerque and all these small places? But if the plane breaks down there, they can't get a part there. So some of this is about really just making sure if a plane's grounded, that they have the crew and their mechanics to fix planes. Otherwise, the plane doesn't take off. So for being inconvenienced and having to drive 2 hours away, like if you're in Denver, you got to go to Colorado Springs, I get it. But in theory, it is a lot of this mechanics and it's also jet fuel, so the prices don't skyrocket. So there is a downside of why it's not like that in so many ways.
yeah, but I'm saying like if they can do it for a congressperson, they can certainly
Who
do
did they do that for?
a number. I'm sure there's an entire list. We should ask Grok. But Grokky, exactly. I just wanted one last thing to close. Anna, I want to highlight something that you said that it's so important that I'm going to stress it again. Capitalism is so good for everyone. We need capitalism in our airlines. We need it in our media industry. Right now, there might be even consolidation between CNN and the owners of CBS is looking to buy the CNN,
Yeah.
HBO.
Media conglomerates have been a huge problem and only continue to get worse.
Exactly.
Like Nexstar.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, this is true in every industry, but this is a fantastic episode.
I had a
And
blast.
I had a blast too.
Me
I love
too.
the
It got a little
fire.
heated, but I like that. I like the fire.
absolutely do. And I love how we had
went by
Bianca
too
and
quickly.
Bianca. That
Yeah.
was so cool. And that was totally unplanned too.
We need another one.
The universe was conspiring to make this happen.
Yeah.
So anyway, where can we find you?
So I am mostly on Instagram. So just Vianca and Rodriguez, and then I've got X. I've got a lot of really interesting projects coming up very soon. I just can't really publicly talk about them, but stay tuned. Follow
make
me
some news?
personally. Well, I am going to be launching my own show.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm really excited about it. And it's going to be a really interesting format, talking about everything, kind of like what you guys do. But hopefully I can have all of you join me as well in the future.
Absolutely.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Anna?
You can find me over at Minect and just Google Anna Kasparian. You can find me on social media and watch the show I do daily at youtube.com/theyoungturks.
Awesome. I use Instagram a lot at Bianca Della Garza Official. I have my website, biancadellagarza.com. I'm on Twitter and I'm on Newsmax every day for my show Newsline with Bianca Della Garza, 12 to 2 Eastern, and Newswire on our streaming network, N2, 4 to 5. So 3 hours a day. We cover a lot of stuff as well. So it's such an honor to share the stage with you girls today.
You
Really
guys
liked
were
it.
completely
It's great to have you back.
fabulous. I'm Lindy Lee. You can find me on Connect and everywhere else. Please remember to like, subscribe. You guys are the best. We love you so much. And happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Take care. Bye.